Assalamu alaikum dear friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Ikra Fareed. Today I'm going to discuss with you chemical substances, illicit drugs, forensic toxicology, and the definition of illicit drugs and the classification of illicit drugs which are included in this level of forensic scientist and junior forensic scientist post and the subjects under the forensic. So let's start our presentation. So, this is the sciences. In chemical sciences, you will study illicit drugs and forensic toxicology, and the other subjects are definition of illicit drugs and the classification of illicit drugs. So, first of all, I will discuss with you. The topics which are included in chemical sciences are the illicit drugs, forensic toxicology, textile fibers, paint analysis, soil and glass, fires and explosions. So the topics included in illicit drugs are the first of all it's the introduction of the illicit drugs. Other is what is an illicit drug, the control of illicit drugs in the United States, classification of illicit drugs, stimulants, depressants, narcotics, hallucinogens, drug analysis, how are drugs described legally, weight and sampling, drug purity, developing an analytical scheme, clandestine drug laboratories, barbiturates, controlled substances. These are all included in this presentation. So we will start discussing these illicit drugs and forensic toxicology. So what is illicit drug? So the question arises, what is an illicit drug? In the introduction of this chapter, I will want to say that more than 50% of the evidence submission to most crime laboratories are drug cases, and the drug unit is usually the largest in lab in the term of number of forensic scientists, space, instrumentation, and case submissions. This has been the situation for more than 40 years. In the US government has attempting to control illicit drugs for nearly a century on the number of fronts, including helping other countries with their drug manufacture, suppression, interdiction of drug shipment from foreign countries, manufacture and sales within the US borders, and prevention programs aimed at children and adults. So, what is an illicit drug? A drug is a natural or synthetic substance that is designed to produce a specific set of psychological or physiological effects on the human body. In other words, and in other case, in other animals, most drugs are produced legitimately by drug manufacturers and are prescribed for particular illness, injuries, or other medical problems. These drugs are mostly taken and used for intended use. Sometimes, however, there have been effects that people find pleasurable and euphoria, and those are taken for other than their intended purpose. Drug abuse occurs when people take drugs for purposes other than which they have intended, usually for their psychoactive effects. In addition to the legal produce of pharmaceutical drugs, there is also substances that have no legitimate recognized medicinal purpose but are produced and ingested entirely for their psychoactive effects. Many of the drugs are naturally occurring substances and are extracted and derived from natural substances. Others are purely synthetic compounds. Legally produced drugs that are abused, and drugs produced for no reason other than the abuse are called abuse drugs. Drugs or abuse of illicit drugs. In the United States, many of them are controlled substances, which refer to their inclusion in the part of federal court's called Controlled Substances Act 21 USC 812. Throughout the world, many of the drugs terms are used to describe abused drugs. The most common one is illicit drugs and is the term that will be used in this chapter. So these are the some of the schedules which are quoted in US countries. So let's come to the classification of illicit drugs, or you can say abuse drugs, or you can say drug control drugs. First of all, we discuss the classification, and then we come to the substances which are included in the classification of these illicit drugs. So illicit drugs are abused in the many countries, including Pakistan. So, classification of the illicit drugs include there's a wide variety of illicit drugs. They range from synthetic to naturally occurring and can have a number of psychoactive effects. They occur in forms such as plant material and plant extract powders and tablets and capsules, liquids and solids. Some can be easily grown, whereas other are manufactured usually sophisticated chemistry. To make sense of all these drugs, you need to develop a useful classification system. In fact, there are several ways of classifying illicit drugs. As mentioned previously, the federal laws put them in one of the five schedules based on their abuse potential and pharmacology and the existence of legitimate medicinal use. Another convenient way of classifying drugs is by their origin. Under this scheme, drugs can be put into four classes. Number one is the natural occurring. Number two is the plant extract. Number three is the semi-synthetic. And number four is the synthetic. When it's come to the natural occurring, these substances are found in nature in plants. Part of the plants is ingested and the drug is extracted and used by the person. Examples include marijuana. The leaves are dried and smoked, and they are eaten. They contain the different compound which cause hallucination. And plant extracts, they are naturally occurring substances which are extracted from the plants, and it is cocaine and morphine. Semi-synthetic, these substances are derived chemically from a naturally occurring substance, including heroin, LSD, and the synthetic include amphetamines, barbiturates, and oxycodones. This classification system is useful from the forensic chemistry standpoint because it helps in determining the proper scheme of analysis outside the forensic science field. The most popular way of classifying drugs is by their psychoactive effect. Under this scheme, illicit drugs are put into one of the four classes: stimulants, depressants, narcotic, and hallucinogens. Because of its popularity and acceptance in the public, this classification system will be discussed in more detail. So let's come to the other, which is the stimulants. Stimulants are the drug that elevates one mood. They help people feel better who are sad, depressed. They give people extra energy. Other claims are also made for stimulants. They make you stronger, faster, have better sexual experience, even smarter. Stimulants can range in power from mild, such as caffeine, which is not an illicit drug, too strong. The most common example of the latter are amphetamines and cocaine. Both of these drugs have been abused for many years and are still quite popular. They are excellent representative of abuse stimulants and will be discussed in more details. So this was the lecture for today. If you have any question, you can comment. Kindly, if you like the video, kindly share and like the video and subscribe also. Thank you so much. I love this.